ANC has retained the ministries in the economic cluster. They include finance, trade and industry and small business development. Let's get some reaction now from the business sector on the president's new cabinet. Joining us is Business Unity South Africa CEO Cas Coovadia. Good morning to you and thank you for joining us here on Newslink. Not everybody can be happy, but from a business and an economic point of view, do you believe that there's reason to be happy? There's reason to be content that things will be solid in that department?
Yeah, so look, I think that it's been a difficult cabinet to put together, given that it is now a government of national unity and all parties in the GNU need to be accommodated. But by and large, as you say, in the finance and economic ministries, we are quite happy. I think Minister Godongwana coming back to finance is very good. In our view, we've worked very well with him and he understands the issues. I think Minister Tau in trade and industry is also a very good appointment. We've worked very well with him in his role as Deputy Minister at COPTA and at local government. And I think he'll do a phenomenal job at DTIC. You know, generally we're happy with the cabinet. I think there are some areas of concern. I think that in water and sanitation in particular, all the experience has been lost. And water and sanitation is a critical issue, a crisis issue in our country currently. So we'll see how that goes. And we'll have to look at how we move forward on things like NHI. I think that Minister Motsoaledi has been in health before, as Minister Bachla, Deputy Minister Bachla now. So we'll arrange meetings with them very, very soon to see how we move forward on NHI and other health issues. But generally, I think we're reasonably happy. There are areas of concern, but we'll have to work our way through those.
Let's talk about the Minister of Small Business Development, Stella Ndabeni-Abrahams. This is a position, of course, that she has had for, I think it's been since 2021, if I'm not mistaken. Are you happy with the pace at which small businesses are developing in South Africa and with the work that she's done so far and her reappointment?
Look, we've had good interaction with Minister Abrahams, and I think that she has tried to do some good work in the area, but I think there's a lot that needs to be done. We have the Minister of Small Business Development is part of a group that we're working with between government and business on looking at youth employment as well as looking at involvement of youth in SMEs, and we're beginning to make progress on that, utilizing both public and private sector resources and capacity to do that. So I think there's a phenomenal amount of work still to be done in the SME area. And what we would look forward to from Minister in that area, Minister Ndabeni-Abrahams, is that we look very seriously at an appropriate regulatory environment for SMEs. We look very seriously on how we can reduce red tape in the SME sector, and we need to act on those, and those are in the ambits of government. And then we can certainly, as the private sector, look at how we involve SMEs in supply chains, how we actually raise funding and develop a funding mechanism for SMEs that goes beyond debt funding. We also have equity funding for SMEs, some sort of angel finance, and that's something the private sector is working on. But there is a lot of work to be done there, but I think that the potential to work with Minister Abrahams is certainly a good one.
Now, you touched on the NHI briefly earlier. I'd like to find out what are some of the key issues that you think this new cabinet should address as a sense or with a sense of urgency to make sure that we create an environment that is conducive for business in South Africa to flourish.
Yeah, so we've consistently said that the way out of the socioeconomic problems and crises we have in our country is to create an environment for investment, both local and global investment. And on the back of that investment, to put our country onto a sustainable and inclusive growth path. And by inclusive growth path, we mean that the majority of people in this country must have some sort of a stake in the economy and must feel the positive impacts of that growth. So we need to create jobs. We need to deal with the social issues. And what we expect from the government is a very, very clear message, as we said before the elections, a very, very clear message from the entire cabinet. And the cabinet needs to be united behind the president on this, that our direction is one where we will promote a free market economy, public partnerships between business and government are working, as we can see in the three areas we're working with the president in logistics, law and order, and crime and corruption. And that the message must be that we will create the space for the private sector and develop an environment for the private sector and facilitate that, for the private sector to create jobs, for the private sector to grow businesses, to form new businesses. We will send out a message to investors that we will deal with any matters that they have problems with. And then we will manage and regulate all of that properly. But the message has got to be clear. And creating more space for the private sector to come in and use its skills and capacity to help government manage some of the issues that need to be managed is the critical issue. And a clear message to investors that we are open for business and we will do what we need to do to attract your investment because we compete for that investment is the other critical message. And then on the back of that, we can work together to actually manage the economic growth properly and to ensure that it is inclusive.
Another issue that, of course, affects investors and business in South Africa greatly is the issue of crime. So I'd also just like to get your take on the appointment of the Minister of Police from the ANC, Minister Senzo Mchunu. Do you believe that he is well capable, of course, to be able to tackle crime in South Africa, also once again to create a positive and safe environment for entrepreneurs to do business?
Yeah, so look, Senzo is a senior ANC person. I think he's a very capable person. I think he's a good appointment and somebody we would certainly want to work with. We're doing work on crime and corruption as one of the three streams that we're partnering the president on. And obviously, our people working in that area will seek an urgent meeting with the minister. But I think that there's certainly potential to work with him. As I certainly know him, I think that he will take very, very seriously this portfolio. And we will, again, try to work with him and see how the private sector can come to the table with resources and capacity, including things like building a forensics capability for the country, which we're working on, dealing with some of the organized crime issues and how we actually utilize private sector resources and capacity to deal with those. But I think on this one, as in many others, there needs to be a clear political will to actually deal clearly and strongly with these issues. And that political will needs to come to the fore. We can't have any sort of situations where government falters on this or it's equivocal on this. Government needs to be unequivocal, that we will have a zero tolerance approach to crime, no matter who's involved, no matter where it happens, and we will deal with that very, very strongly.
Mr. Cas Coovadia, CEO of Business Unity South Africa, thank you very much for your time here on ENCA this morning. We do appreciate it. Of course, saying that South Africa is open for business and calling on the different political parties to have a strong political will to make this work and address all the different issues that affect business in South Africa. It's now